All right, so today is February 27th, 2024, and I am back with part 2 of the Consequences of Magic series. And this one, I put this one as charms. Not that I know a lot about charms, but it just seemed that the dreams and the things I was seeing was referencing charms, okay? The confirmation verses I have is Jeremiah 33:19. The word of the Lord came to Jeremiah, and 1 Thessalonians 4:18. Therefore, encourage one another with these words. Now, this was part of a larger grouping, so I use the same confirmation for these since I just really divided up into smaller parts. So it'll be the same for the next part, which is the last of the magic ones. Okay, so straight into it, some things that I saw that were grabbing my attention in real life. So a bracelet that my daughter made that said good luck on it. And then my husband brought home a box of Lucky Charms cereal. No big deal, but I could not stop singing the theme song or the jingle. They're magically delicious. Like, this went on for days, and I'm like, okay, what is going on here? And then I saw the word adoption on a billboard, but I also heard someone mention the word adoption during a prayer service, which made me remember the dream I had. And then I have 2 senior dogs, and when I say senior, they're pretty old, like 13 and older. One of them, when they got into a dog fight when they were younger, it knocked out one of their canines. So they've grown up with only having one canine. And then my other dog, who is a senior, she's around the same age, she's just old, and so some of her teeth have started to come out or be loose, and one of them, her canine, was just a little loose. I touched it and it was kind of wiggly. I'm like, oh, her tooth is getting loose. That's going to play a part in the dream I had, okay? And then I have a cardboard box that I put some books in, and it's a medium-sized box, but every time I went past it, I just couldn't stop seeing the word medium, 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 and I'm like, what are you telling me? Like, I know I'm trying to lose some weight. You want me to wear a medium? I mean, I took it that far. Like, what is going on? So then the next thing, and this was months ago, my daughter text messaged me, and she said, hey, remember Teresa Caputo? She's the Long Island medium that you used to watch a long time ago. So when that series first came out, before I found my faith, I was like, oh, let me watch this lady. And I just remembered, I'm like, oh yeah, we don't do mediums. Like, we learned about that when I read the Bible. This is not a thing from God. So she brought that to my attention. And then, like 2 weeks ago, not this Sunday, but the Sunday before, I just was randomly talking to my sister about, I was wondering about this passage in Samuel where Saul went to go see a medium. So I started talking about that part of scripture, and which my sister is in her faith, but she's not where I am because we're all on different journeys. But I was just like really giving her this story in the Bible. And then I kept seeing, like, I know my kids have shirts that have Pokemon on there, but I just could not stop looking at them. Like, what is up with this Pokemon? Why can't I just avoid seeing it or avoid singing the song? Even I would go hang out with my sister, and she showed me something with Pokemon. I'm like, what is going on here? And I just couldn't quite pinpoint where this made sense until when I get to my dream, it's going to make so much sense. Then a few weeks ago when we were at Bible study, they were talking about, hey, when you were a kid, if you ever wish that you had a superpower, what would it be? And I raised my hand and said, oh, I used to wish that I was invisible. And this, again, will play into the dream that has to do with this. Then when I went to go buy my husband an energy drink, I couldn't stop seeing the one that is called Venom. And then a keychain has a pink quartz crystal or something on it that resembles what I saw in my dream that I drew in my journal. And so I'll show that when I get to the dream. I also heard on December 22nd, 2022, don't be deceived. And then on December 26th, 2022, I heard the snake, the deceiver. And then I heard a song from I heard this, some lyric to a song, but it's not the lyric because it's actually the title of the song. So I was singing the song, I'm like, oh, what song is that? Because I didn't know the title. It's a George Michael song, but it is called Careless Whisper. So that is what I was meant to see, not so much the lyrics of the song, but the title was Careless Whisper. And then I was led to Strong's Greek 538, which means to deceive, to cheat, or to lead in error. And then there is a song called Look Here by BTS, and these are some of the lyrics. It is, your charms are exploding. I already figured out your pretty charms. I'm the police, pay for your crimes. I'm wishing you some luck today. And then this dream is the one that has to do when I saw the word adoption. I'm gonna read straight from the paper. It says, I remember being at home, but in my dream, it was at my dad's house. I was on the front porch and a man came up, someone I apparently knew in my dream, but not someone I knew in real life. Like, no one was representing anybody in that dream. And so he comes up to the front gate and he says, so you have custody of my kids now. And I said, well, it was your mom who gave me custody, because in the dream, the guy never really had custody. It was the mom had custody and she gave them to me. So that was in the dream. So that's how the word adoption made me remember this dream. And then, let's see. So then I began to tell him that one of his daughters, because it was 3 girls, and one of his daughters was having a difficult time behaviorally. But as I was telling him what was happening, I was seeing what I was describing to him. So I had said that she was acting out and crying, but she said she would be fine if she could just have one of her necklaces. When I was telling him this, oh, that's when I said I began to see what I was telling him. When the girl was finally calming down, she said she just needed one of her necklaces that her mom gave to her. And I went to the room where she and her siblings were staying, and I noticed all her necklaces that she had arranged on this wire rack. They were all the same brand, but I just can't remember what it was. But it wasn't like a real store brand. It said something, and I wish that I could recall what it said, but I can't. I can't recall what I saw, what was on the charm packaging. So I was like, okay, well, she just really wants one of these necklaces. So when I went and grabbed one, I looked at it and I was like, oh no. It was one that I obviously knew was a charm that was used in like witchcraft or something like that, like the evil eye or something like that. That's not a cutesy little charm you should wear. So I was like, oh no, not this one. Definitely not this one. And so then I start flipping through the other charms, and again, I wish I could remember all the things that I saw, but one specifically I did remember seeing was a necklace that had what looked like a dog's canine cast in like silver, just hanging there, but it looked like a canine, like a tooth. And so I just kept saying no, and then I just remembered that all of them looked like witchcraft or voodoo type charms, or hoodoo, however is the correct way to say it. I don't really even know. And there's something that I forgot to type on here, but I remembered it now. It is all the times that I used to watch Ghost Adventures. Back from like 2008, I would watch Ghost Adventures, and you know, they would do the spirit boxes and those little things to, you know, check if there's ghosts in a haunted house and things like that. Like, I completely forgot about that. So that was on my mind just now, because I absolutely forgot to type it on this paper. So that's actually where I heard someone say hoodoo instead of voodoo. So, okay, anyways, I'm going to go into the next dream, and this one I'm going to read straight from my journal because it is kind of long, but I'm just going to try to skim over it as best as I can. This was in January 12th of 2023, and in the dream I was walking around in the mall and I was like shopping. But you know how when you're in the store, there's those main stores at the end, like a Dillard's or a Sears or a Bell's or something like that. And it was one of those stores. But when I got there, I'm looking at my notebook, sorry. When I got there, the entrance that would have been to one of those stores, it was just like black. So I couldn't see what was in there. And I went inside. I'm going to read here. It says, at this point, I'm alone. So whoever I was with wasn't with me anymore. And I went in, but I don't see any details of the store. It's dark. And I hear a voice that says, go into that house. No one is there. No one can see you. I was invisible. So just like the stuff I heard about me saying I wanted to be invisible, that made me remember this dream when I was looking back in my journals. And I could hear in my head, protected. Like I was protected while I was doing this that I'm about to do. So I go into this house and I open the door, and everything in there is very eclectic, is what I wrote. It reminds me of a stereotypical fortune teller kind of vibes. And I said, I sit down on the couch and I look at some items that are on the coffee table. Sorry, I just realized why I could not get away from the word coffee or coffee table. Sometimes like it just happens right now when I'm connecting the dots. I'm sorry. It says, then all over the table were these different types of stones. So different crystals, pink color, purple color. And there was one that was shaped like this, which I'll show you the picture. It was pink quartz and clear, and it was opaque in some spots. While I'm looking at the stones, I hear instructions. Okay, I'm going to stop there and show you the crystal before I go. So it kind of looked like that right there. And then I hear the words, go find the wands and touch them. Rub your hands up and down the wands. And so I grabbed that stone that I described you and I put it in my pocket. Then I go to the next room to go find these wands. But if you can imagine like a staircase, if you're on some stairs and you go sideways, there's the railings. So it was like a half wall, but the top was these spindles of like wood spindles. So I was just kind of peeking over on what's on that side. So I see what looks like a kitchen, and there's an island with some spices, some herbs, some stones, powders, plants, but there's no kitchen appliances. It's just those things. And then I see that there's like this brick wall area that's cut into the wall, but there's a cauldron hanging there. Oh my gosh, my daughter was playing Legos a minute ago and she picked up something that looked like a little cauldron. Guys, I'm sorry. And so there's a cauldron hanging there, and then I thought, this home belongs to a witch. And as I looked around, I finally found the 3 wands, and they were longer than I thought. Like in my head, I was thinking like Harry Potter, but they were actually really long. And I said, you want me to touch them? And I hear yes. So I picked up each wand and I just slid my hand across the top all the way down to the bottom of all 3 wands. And then when I was there, after I put all the wands down, I heard the door open and the witch came back in, and I heard, she can't see you. And so I kind of like slid across the wall. Like I did not want to be seen. So I was like inching past the wall, and I go back to that half wall, but I wanted to see what she was doing because I'm nosy. And I started peeking through the spindles again. And she was wearing this long, like flowy skirt. Back in the day, there used to be this kind of skirt that you would twist and twist and twist and twist until it would coil up and you would put it in a bag. And then when you took it out, it was like wrinkly, like that kind of skirt. And then she had a scarf or something around her neck. And then I wrote, she placed this large like hobo bag on top of the island, but she was talking to someone. I didn't see her phone, but she probably had one. She tossed in some things from her bag into the cauldron and reached for her wand. As she put it over the cauldron, nothing happened. And she even stuck, I wrote in here that she stuck the wands into the pot and nothing was happening. So she started getting mad and she was angry, and she told whoever she was talking to that she had to go, and she hung up. And then she grabbed another wand and nothing happened. She tried all 3 wands and nothing happened. I describe her face here. So she was not old. She wasn't really young either. Her features were typical of what you think a witch would look like, but less exaggerated, and she wasn't like green. She had like my color skin. And she just, again, had a typical, it's like what you think a witch would look like in shows, but it wasn't like, again, over exaggerated or a different weird color. She just had a longer pointy nose, things like that. And then she goes, "Who's in here?" And so I started to creep out of the house, and I made it all the way to the door, and I shut it without making a sound. This is where I recall the outside of the house. So I even described what the door looked like. It was, I drew a picture. It kind of looked like this. It was a wooden door, and this was like a brick stone, like, I can't draw that good sometimes, so there's like a step down right here, and there was like vines on the side. And so, let me get past where I'm describing what it looked like. Okay, just as I turned around to run, the door swung open, and she looked out the door trying to see who might have been there, and she said, "Who's there?" But I just turned around and I started to run. And when I was running through this darkness, it was just dark. I couldn't see anything, but I could see the outline of paths and some trees. And the voice that had told me what to do now told me to take that crystal that was in my pocket and to throw it on the ground. Once it hit the ground, everything lit up, and I could see what I was doing or where I was going. But this was different, and oh my gosh, I forgot to write this in here. There's a sign that on my dad's street that is for sale, but the sign is black, and the writing is in like neon colors, which is obviously different from the types of signs you would normally see when a house is for sale. But here's why that caught my attention. It said everything was black, and when I threw that stone, it lit up, but all the outlines of the plant life, the paths, they were neon colored. And okay, this is where the Pokemon thing comes into play. I saw this pink little creature, and I wrote on here that it reminded me of the pink puffy guy from Pokemon. But it wasn't that, but that's just what it reminded me of. But when I wrote this, as I was writing it, I heard the word elf. So I wrote elf in my notebook. And then he begins to chase after me, but I'm not scared of him. But I knew that I needed to run. And I remember that the voice tells me something like, once I threw that stone, it made me visible to other things. So I kept running and running until I got to that entryway. But I knew that if I didn't get out in time, if that thing caught me, I would be stuck there. And so when I got out of the entryway to that store, I turned back, and it's like there's an invisible force field or something that keeps that little pink guy in, and he puts his hand on the thing, and he's looking out, but he can't see past that thing. I can see him. He looks like sad, like, oh, I thought I was gonna make a friend, but I didn't, but he just couldn't see past. And something significant that I wrote in here, and it still feels like that to this day, so this is over a year ago that I had that dream, is the first part of the dream where I'm talking about going into the mall and shopping, and then when it changes to where I'm in that witch's house and the little pink guy's chasing me and I get out, that felt so real. Like, I can't explain that. It was like being in another realm. And I know that we talk about spiritual realms or whatever. It actually felt like that. That feels like a memory that I was kind of slipping away, like when you remember, oh yeah, when I was a kid I did this. Like that is how that memory feels to me. Not like, oh, I had this dream once. It feels like a real thing that happened to me, and I don't care how crazy. Where did this little bug come from? I don't care how crazy that sounds like it, or I sound when I say that. That part of the dream felt absolutely real. Now at the end I wrote, when I was leaving, like right when I was exiting, I had heard that voice that was talking to me that said, why her wands never worked. Okay, it said I rubbed the glory of God on her wands. And so that was pretty much the end of that dream. I'm going to get a drink of water and then I'm going to get into scripture. So here's my paper. Sorry, we're fixing stuff up in this room, so that's why it's like echoey. There's nothing in here right now. Let's see, I have Psalm 58 from the New International. It says, even from birth the wicked go astray. From the womb they are wayward, spreading lies. Their venom is like the venom of a snake, that like of a cobra that has stopped its ears, that will not heed to the tune of the charmer, however skillful the enchanter may be. Break the teeth in their mouths, O God, Lord, tear out the fangs of those lions. Let them vanish like water that flows away when they draw the bow. Let their arrows fall short. May they be like a slug that melts away as it moves along, like a stillborn child that never sees the sun. Before your pots can feel the heat of the thorns, whether they be green or dry, the wicked will be swept away. The righteous will be glad when they are avenged, when they dip their feet in the blood of the wicked. Then people will say, surely the righteous still are rewarded. Surely there is a God who judges the earth. And I have Isaiah 8:19 through 22. When someone tells you to consult mediums and spiritists who whisper and mutter, should not a people inquire of their God? Why consult the dead on behalf of the living? Consult God's instruction and the testimony of warning. If anyone does not speak according to this word, they have no light of dawn. Distressed and hungry, they will roam through the land. When they are famished, they will become enraged, and looking upward will curse the king and their God. Then they will look toward the earth and see only distress and darkness and fearful gloom, and they will be thrust into utter darkness. And then Leviticus 19:31, do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. Now, in my next one, I have a phrase that I heard, which does apply to this one too. So it says something like, they have no light in them. So that goes with this and the next message. But I really don't know who watches all of the parts of the series. So I'm going to say it now and I'm going to say it again in the next one. This part where he talks about being thrust into darkness, I am going to have a series about the darkness. So just that's one thing that is going to be coming up in the next couple days. All right, so always find the light, and I will be back with part 3. All right, bye.